Hello friends, welcome to LeggLife, and you may be able to tell by Sherri's Disney cruise ears and the fact that I am Disney bounding as Mr. Smee that today's video is all about Disney Cruise Line.
We have been on 5 Disney cruises. We have our 6th coming up later this month. Our 7th is already booked for later this year. But this video is going to be talking about things that we wish we had known before our first cruise.
Now, a lot of the stuff that we're going to talk about in today's video, we've actually covered in other vlogs or maybe other Disney cruise tips and tricks videos. But here's one thing we know. We know that for Christmas, a lot of you got Disney cruises or you told your family about them. And so several of you guys are in like full-on Disney cruise planning mode. We've seen your posts in a lot of the Disney cruise Facebook groups. People are kind of starting to freak out like, I just booked, what the heck do I do now? And so we thought it'd be helpful to make one video where we just kind of put all of these together in one. So that's exactly what we're gonna do. So Sherri, let's just jump into our list.
Okay. The first one is there are so many food options on a Disney cruise, even outside of just the main dining restaurants.
I know that on our first cruise, we did a lot of research on like the main dining restaurants,
right,
but we didn't really know what else existed around the ship. And so we're not gonna talk a lot about the main dining, but you guys, there is so many other food options around the ship
that are included in the cost.
So like Cove Cafe. Cove Cafe is the place where you have to like pay for like your specialty coffee drinks, but they have like a little snack bar in there that has like just like little pastries and little desserts and stuff. Those are all free. In the adult only section, like where the bars and lounges are, in the evenings, they basically put out like a little appetizer buffet with things like hot dogs and wings and different snacks and stuff like that.
Yep.
That stuff's all free. Room service is all free with the exception of a couple things like prepackaged like candies and stuff like that. But I don't know, I would think I was surprised at that on our first cruise, just how much food outside of the restaurants is available on the cruise ship.
All day.
All day long. There's always food, obviously in the restaurants, obviously the buffet, but in all the little different areas, there's lots of different food options. So like take some time, walk around, look in the different areas. You may stumble upon a delicious free food option that you didn't even know existed.
Yep. And the next one, just like the food, there is a lot included with the cost of your cruise.
It's not just getting on board and the food that's included. I know a lot of the things that Disney offers are things like animation classes, it's things like cooking classes, it's things like quizzes and trivias and lots of things like that, like little game show type things. All of those are free.
Yep.
And that's one of the things that sometimes people don't know is that, well, I didn't go to this because I didn't know if we had to pay for it. Most of the time you don't. Right? There are a few different exceptions to that. I know that bingo, there's a cost, obviously, like, you know, some of the spa classes, if there's like a fitness class, sometimes there's a cost with those sort of things. But a lot of the stuff on Disney Cruise Line is actually included. So don't not go to something because you think it's extra. If you're not sure, ask, and one of the cast members and the crew will be able to tell you. But so much of that stuff is included.
And that's actually one of the things that we love to do on our Disney cruises is actually do the animation class, do the trivia, do that kind of stuff because it's all just included. And so it's fun, like it's a great fun experience to do together and it's free.
And,
I mean, basically.
Well, yeah, and we figure like Disney Cruise is more expensive, right? We've talked about that in a lot of our videos. Disney cruises are not cheap. And so by doing these kind of things that are added, helps us feel like it's a better value. So yeah, take advantage of that stuff. It really is a ton of fun.
And the next thing we wish we had known, we have been fairly underwhelmed with the last night menu in the main dining restaurants.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. It could be that the kitchen's kind of getting ready to shut down and turn over for the next cruise. It's just kind of been underwhelming to us, the menu on the last night of the cruise. However, you guys, we've taken that and turned it into one of our very favorite traditions because what we do is we actually take the last night of our cruise and that's the night that we book dinner at Palo or Remy. As well, you guys know, those are kind of the extra, you have to pay higher end dinner restaurants.
But what a way to end the cruise. Like this super nice restaurant, like right on the back of the ship. So it's just like ocean all around you. It's beautiful.
We love it. It is one of the highlights of our cruise. It's just like the perfect way to kind of end a cruise. So I'd say if you're going on a Disney cruise and you're looking to do Palo or Remy, we love doing it the last night, partly because it's such a great way to end a cruise, but also we have just been underwhelmed by the main dining menus last night.
So next, we did talk about this earlier, Disney cruises are very expensive, but there are ways to save a little bit of money on the cruise.
And these are kind of three things that all sort of fit into the same category.
Yeah.
It's popcorn buckets, the beer mug, the refillable beer mug, and then the drink of the day cups. So these are all things that you can purchase one time for like a higher price, but then you get a discount when you refill them the rest of the cruise.
Right.
So I would say that if you're going to do this, obviously do it the very first day.
Right.
Right? Like take as much advantage of this as possible. And I'll just use the popcorn bucket as an example. So Disney has these amazing like souvenir popcorn buckets. They're like
themed.
Like themed. They're known for their popcorn buckets. They are a little expensive, but when you go to refill your popcorn for the whole rest of the cruise, I think it's only $1.50 to refill.
Right.
So it's the kind of thing that's like, you know what? My family loves popcorn when we go to the shows or when we go to the movies, just kind of going around the ship. Might be a good thing to buy. Also, if you're a beer drinker and you want to drink beer while you're on the ship, you can buy a refillable beer mug. I think the beer mug is like 21 ounces, but then for the rest of the cruise, you pay for like a 16-ounce beer price.
Right.
And I think basically the same thing with drink of the day. You can buy kind of the souvenir Disney cruise kind of hurricane-style glass,
right.
and then when you fill it up the rest of your cruise, you get like a larger amount for a smaller price.
Right.
So those are just ways, again, we know it's expensive, and so like for us, we look for any little thing that can save money.
Yep. We know we're going to be doing popcorn. We know
Totally.
we're going to do drink of the day. And so it's just, it does save a little bit each time to just use these refillable things.
And the popcorn bucket, what a great souvenir. It's something else you bring home. So you not only get to use it on the cruise, but it's kind of a souvenir that you paid for as well. So we think those are some great ways to save money while on board. And the next tip has to do with characters. As you guys know, meeting characters is a part of any good Disney experience, right? And it's no different with Disney Cruise Line. But Sherri, we have learned a couple character tips and tricks, haven't we?
We have. So you will notice that the lines on a Disney Cruise Line are much shorter than they are in the parks. And you're just going to be like, this is amazing. But the lines actually get shorter the further into the cruise you are. So everybody on the first day wants their picture taken with Captain Mickey. But if you wait a few days into the cruise, or just kind of, longer into the cruise, then those lines will be much shorter.
I will say also when it comes to characters, there are a few things on board that are like ticketed character events.
Right. Still free.
Still free, like the Princess Gathering, the Frozen Meet and Greet. And I've seen some people in the Disney Cruise Facebook groups who kind of get concerned if they weren't able to get one of those tickets. They're like, you know what, like, are my kids gonna be able to meet characters? Here's what I will say, even if you don't get tickets to those, there are still, the majority of characters around the ship you will get to see without a ticket.
All cruise.
Totally. And so if you weren't able to get a ticket, do not worry, do not freak out. You're going to get to meet a ton of characters.
Yep.
But yeah, Sherri's exactly right. The longer you wait into the cruise, the shorter the lines get. So don't be like everybody else trying to rush that first day.
You'll get your picture with Captain Mickey,
breathe,
I promise.
Go swim in the pool, hang out.
Yep.
It's going to be fun.
The next thing to know is from the second you step foot on the ship, you're going to want to do another cruise.
That's one of the things that we, on our first cruise, we did not think about. We're
like, this would be amazing.
We were so excited for our first cruise that we didn't realize that by the end of those first 3 days, an addiction had formed.
Oh, goodness.
You guys. And so
by the end of that first day, an addiction had formed.
Totally.
We were just like, we have to do this again.
And so that's one of the things I would say is go into it. A lot of times people approach a Disney cruise because of the cost or because of just like the details as maybe a once in a lifetime thing. And for a lot of people it is. Right? But know that it is the kind of thing that you're gonna want to go back and do. And so a couple tips with that. Number one, I'd say, remember that you don't have to do everything in one Disney cruise.
Right.
We've done 5 cruises and there's still things that we have not done on board. There's still things that are like on our to-do list because we've never been able to do them.
Right.
So I'd say number one is that know that you can't fit it all in just because...
Don't kill yourself trying. You won't have a fun vacation.
Totally. That's exactly right. The other thing I'd say, and we made a video about this earlier, so I'll link to it down below, is that when you're on board and you're like, man, I want to do our next Disney cruise, Disney has something called a placeholder reservation. Basically what that is you have to book it when you are on your cruise. Now you get a discounted deposit on your future cruise. You don't have to pick a specific date.
Right.
Basically you just have 2 years from that day to go on another Disney cruise, and you get basically like a 10% discount for doing that.
Right.
Now do know Disney has made some changes to this recently. You used to get onboard credit, which was amazing. You don't get that anymore. So when you watch our video down below, know that there have been some changes to that program since we made that video. However, for us, we still think a 10% discount on a Disney cruise is a huge deal. So you are definitely going to want to do another cruise. So don't try to fit everything in on one cruise, and then make sure you book your placeholder for your next one. And the next thing we wish we knew before our first Disney cruise was that you do not have to leave the ship at ports. Sherri.
Right. So on our first cruise, it was the 3-night, and it stopped in Nassau and Castaway Cay, and so we felt like we were supposed to get off the boat in Nassau, and we were a little bit underwhelmed, and so we were like, let's just get back on the ship, I guess, I don't know. And that, like, we stumbled into so many things on the ship that were happening while we were in port that we were just like, if we had known, we wouldn't have even got off the ship. So it like there's so much to do while you're in port on the ship as well. So don't feel like you have to get off the ship if you don't want to. Also,
Sherri did call it a boat in there, and I know some of you down in the comments are going to let her know that.
You know what? I caught myself.
I know you did. I saw your face as you said it. That's so funny. But Sherri's exactly.
It floats. It's a boat.
Well, okay. Let's definitely not start that debate. But Sherri's exactly right. We definitely felt like, well, we just have to get off at the ports, right? That's what you do.
That's what you're supposed to do.
And I will say, and we've talked about this in prior vlogs, when we were in Nassau, very first port we've ever been on our very first, not just cruise, but Disney cruise.
Right.
When we looked around at the other ships around us in port, they were all empty. Everybody else.
Completely empty.
Yeah, everybody else had gotten off of those ships. Mm-hmm. So we were like, okay, well, clearly we have to.
I guess we're supposed to.
Yeah, I guess we're supposed to. Now, like, we love staying on the ships in port. You know, I mean, we like going out and exploring a little bit, but then like getting back on because there's so much. If it's
somewhere we haven't been yet, we'll still get off and like get an ornament or you know some kind of souvenir from that place. But we're like off the ship for like an hour and then get back on.
So I'd say like just know that you are not required to leave. You don't have to leave. If it's the kind of thing that just a day with a half full ship sounds amazing to you, sitting by the pool, do that. Like you can totally do that. Also, it's a ship, not a boat.
Next thing, you can actually request before your cruise your dining rotation and your dining seating.
That's actually one of the things that I have learned to appreciate the most about Disney Cruise Line is their desire to make your experience magical. And so anything you need to request, do that. Put your request into Disney. Not everything is guaranteed, but they certainly try their hardest to make it happen. And just as an example for that, when we cruised on the Wonder, obviously we wanted to eat at Tiana's place, right? I mean, come on. How do you not? And so I put in a request. We said, you know what? The very first night on the Wonder, that's where I want to eat. I want to get on the ship and I want to go to Tiana's place. But not only do I want to go to Tiana's place, I want to sit as close to the stage as possible. So called Disney, had them add that to our reservation, and sure enough, we were right there next to the stage on the very first night. So if there's a restaurant you want to eat at multiple times, if there are like a certain place you want to sit, if there's a restaurant you want to go to on a certain night, maybe there's something special and you really want to celebrate it at a certain place, request those things. Again, Disney doesn't guarantee that you'll get those, but they certainly work their hardest to make it happen. And the next thing we wish we knew, but we did learn quickly, has also to do with restaurants on board Disney Cruise Line.
So if you find a dish at a restaurant that you really like, you can order it at any restaurant there. So like the shrimp and grits from Tiana's place was I was like, what? I ordered it every single night, no matter what restaurant we were at, because they're amazing and I wanted them. And they were like, okay. And they have like a shared kitchen, and so that it doesn't, like they do what they need to do to make you happy.
I will say, and this actually isn't one of our things I wish I would have known, but I will say when you receive good service, because our staff that like would do that for us, that's amazing. That's them going above and beyond. Right? And so gratuities, and we'll make a video all about Disney Cruise gratuities in the future. Gratuities are included. However, when your cast, when the crew, your servers go above and beyond, make sure your tips and your gratuities reflect that. Right? So if it's like, you know what, every night I'm gonna order this meal from a different restaurant, it's probably best to like bump up the amount of money they're giving, because you are adding some work to them. Even though it is a shared kitchen, it is extra work for them. But do not be afraid to ask. Again, if there's something that you want, if it's like, you know what, I really loved this dessert. You know what, I really want this. I really want that. Always ask, because again, they're there to make your experience as memorable as possible, and they'll do whatever they can to make it happen. The next thing that we wish we would have known before our first Disney cruise is that the shops are actually closed when the ship is in port.
There's like, it's like international law or something, like they can't be open when they're in port. So if you're just like, oh, I'll just do my shopping when everybody else is off the ship. No, you will not. They are closed.
And that also is when you first get on the ship.
Right.
Right.
Anytime it's in port.
Yeah, and so remember, if you're just like, oh, you know what, I forgot to pack sunblock, I'll buy it as soon as we get on the ship. No, you won't, because those stores are going to be closed until you are out in the waters.
Yep. And something else that we sort of like stumbled upon on our first cruise is that the evening shows that are in the theaters are actually also broadcast on TV.
The Broadway quality shows on Disney Cruise are one of the things to me that make the cost worth it. Honestly,
They're
for
amazing.
Disney. They're so good. In fact, they're so good that you really feel bad when you miss them. And on our first cruise, the very first night, Sherri was experiencing a little bit of seasickness. But we were so bummed because we had to leave our dinner early to get her back to the room, which meant we were going to miss our show.
Right.
However, we were flipping through the TV while Sherri's just not feeling well. We're like, wait a second, what is this on TV? And it was the show Villains that we had missed.
Right.
And so if you want to catch a show, but someone in your party's not feeling good, or you just want to lay in bed and relax.
Yeah, I'm saying, or if you just want to hang out in your room.
Totally, and just rest. Yep. Know that those Broadway shows are shown on the TV in your room as well. Yep. So you can definitely still hang out in your room, relax, eat your Mickey bar from room service while watching the show on your TV.
And speaking of room service, something else we wish we had known on our first Disney cruise.
This has become a bit of a tradition for us now.
Yes, it has.
It's our favorite way to end every day on Disney Cruise Line.
Yep.
Because room service, as you guys know, maybe you don't know, all of that food is well included in price. Now you do need to tip your servers because they're not included in the automatic gratuities. So if they bring you your food, tip them a few bucks. However, we love, as we're getting ready for bed, to call up and say, can we have a plate of warm chocolate chip cookies and a glass of milk? And you guys,
it's
like
so nice.
20 or 30 minutes later, knock, 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 there's a plate of warm cookies and a glass of cold milk at our door.
And it's wonderful.
And it spoils us because then I get home and I'm like, oh wait, I can't call anybody to bring us cookies and milk before bedtime.
He tries to make me do it.
It never ever works. But that is something that I wish that we knew, that it's like you can order that. And also like Mickey ice cream bars, not on the menu in room service, but you can order them. They have them.
Yep.
And so there's just like so many little things about Disney Cruise that are so magical. And one of the things that I really love is that even though we've been on 5 cruises with 6th again in just a couple of weeks, we're still learning new things.
Yeah.
And that's what's so amazing is we're still discovering things that we love about Disney Cruise Line. We're still discovering things that we wish we would have known about Disney Cruise Line. And so we want to hear from you guys in the comments below. What are some things maybe that we missed in this video, or some things that you wish you knew before your first Disney cruise? And if we get enough of those, we might make another one of these videos. But also, let us know, has this been helpful? Are there things that you learned in this video? Hopefully there are.
As always, we appreciate you guys watching. We have a ton of Disney Cruise content coming up in the next month or so. So make sure you're subscribed and hit that little bell icon.
As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you on the next LeggLife video.